Welcome to the Kitchen of Thousand Cut. What we are going to make today is white clam sauce. I made it a few days ago, I guess a couple of weeks ago, but didn't get a chance to actually take a picture of it or video of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do the video of it today and post it up there. Now it's going to require certain ingredients. Garlic, I use about 10 cloves of it. And you guys can probably see it. There's a ton of them in there. More garlic, the better. But don't try to go over 10. The reason being, if there's too much garlic, then it's going to start becoming, what's the word that I'm looking for? It becomes a little bitter. So about 10 usually works for me. Okay, one thing I'm going to show you right now is actually how to peel the garlic. Now a lot of people say that peeling garlic is really hard, but there is an easy way to actually do it. The one way is basically the one that I'm using this is a little hand mallet that my father-in-law made for us some time ago. You just smash the garlic. What it does is it actually cracks up the shell, the peel that surrounds the garlic clove. And you can pretty much easily peel it away, and makes peeling garlic a little less painless. So you need to peel the garlic before you actually start cooking. So once you peel the garlic, basically you can either food process it like what I'm doing, or you could manually actually mince them so they'll be pretty fine. You don't want this to be too chunky where people are going to chew on garlic while eating the pasta. Okay, and I'll go over the rest of the ingredient before I start cooking right now. The thing you're going to need a bunch of basil, bunch of parsley, and you want to chopped clam. This is the brand that I use mainly because it does not have citric acid in it. There's a lot of clams that's out there, but they contain citric acid and it gives kind of a citrus taste to it, kind of sour, and I don't like that in the white clam sauce basically. Bay leaf, basically 1 leaf per can. Some ground pepper, black pepper, and don't forget the wine. I'm using Italian wine basically, Pinot Grigio, I guess that's how they say it. It's white wine. It goes very well with white clam sauce when I'm cooking it. The one ingredient that I'm not showing here, well, 2 of them, is very good olive oil. Give me a second. I know some cooks say basically you don't use extra virgin olive oil for cooking, you save for salads and things like that, but I like cooking with extra olive oil. They actually has more taste to it and it gives a richer taste. Another thing you are going to need is at the end of the cooking, you are going to need about tablespoon or 2 of butter. It also helps to make the sauce richer. So what we are going to do is we are going to start cooking. If you can actually focus the camera on the stove, usually you can move over there. I cook the sauce on a frying pan. I guess some people can call it saucepan. Since I cook quite often on this frying pan, what I do is I usually wash it before I start cooking. The way I wash it is, I know some people might not agree with me, but I just heat up the pan, put some olive oil on it, not too much, just a couple of drops, and heat up the pan. once pan gets hot, I just wipe it off. The way I figure it, the heat of the pan and the olive oil will basically kill most of anything that's on this thing. And not the olive oil, but the heat of the pan. Basically, I'm making it pretty hot. And it also has a, what do you call it, a non-stick surface to it. And if you wash with soap and things like that, it seems to actually wear off pretty easy and quickly. You know, so once the oil gets heated up, I'm just rubbing the oil all over the surface of this frying pan to make sure there's no taste left from whatever I cooked last time. I know it sounds disgusting, but I never actually wash this with water. And when you're actually using non-stick surface cooking vessel, or whatever you want to call it, make sure you do not use any kind of a metal utensil. Always use wooden or plastic utensil. Okay, once it gets hot, I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm going to basically cover the bottom of this frying pan with olive oil. Then even before I start turning the heat back on, focus on the garlic. I'm going to use the food processor. I'm not going to run this thing all the time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pulse it, and then once I use the chop, then I'm going to do a fine grind with a grind button. As you can see, it's not as fine as mincing it manually on the cutting board with your kitchen knife, but this is good enough basically. Now, I need to find wooden spoon. There you go. Okay, take the blade out and back to the frying pan, Ethan. Then before you actually turn the heat back on, you want to put certain ingredients into the warm, or in this case hot, frying pan. The first one you want to put it in is garlic. Basically garlic, you don't want to cook it too much. Once it burns, it gives a bitter taste. So you want to make sure that it doesn't go in a hot pan. Next thing you are going to put in is basil. I put a ton of basil. Okay, make sure that the pan is focused, Ethan. As you can see, I use a ton of dry basil, and then I use a ton of parsley. Parsley fresh, ran out of it, so here's a new bottle. Also, I'm going to use quite a bit of this. I mean, the fresh herbs and spices are always recommended, but this sauce will stay on a heat for quite some time, and hydrated or dried herbs actually will rehydrate to a certain degree, and dried herbs actually pack more taste, and I actually enjoy using dry herbs. there are very few times that where I use fresh herbs. Okay, as I said, I'm going to use 3 cans of clam, so 1 leaf per can. So there's 3 of them. Now, once you have dry ingredient and garlic in the pan, olive oil, you're going to turn the heat on, and you are going to slowly bring them up to temperature. Maybe I need to put a little more oil. Yeah, that looks better. Basically what you're doing is roasting the garlic and slightly toasting the herb. Basically, for me, it seems to intensify the taste as long as you don't burn it. If you burn it, then oh well, you gotta start all over again. You really don't want to burn the garlic. And you can see olive oil is bubbling, and you can hear it. And keep stirring to make sure that the garlic doesn't burn. And soon you're going to see steam coming off the pan. Once I notice steam coming off the pan, I put good cup and a half of white wine. Yeah, maybe a little more than cup and a half. I don't know. Never measure it. It just looks good. About the same amount as what's in the pan already. And this, you really want to bring it up to boil. Rolling boil until most of the wine actually evaporates. While the oil and wine mixture is actually boiling and evaporating, I am going to go get some water for pasta. So keep on watching the steam boiling. It will boil and boil and boil. Okay, our wonderful cameraman is getting the pasta ready on the side of the stove so I can actually start cooking when it's ready. Alright, here's water. I use plenty of water for the pasta basically. I don't want pasta to basically cook in so little water that it's going to more or less become kind of like a dumpling instead of a noodle. And you can see with the high heat this thing is getting very quickly evaporating and becoming a sort of kind of thick paste sort of thing. Becoming very thick as the wine evaporates. And while it's keep on evaporating, I'm going to open the can. usually about 4 cans of a clam. Serves about 3 cans of clam, and it serves about 4 people, and we have little leftover that I can use next day. And maybe 1 more serving, so I guess it gives about 5 servings with everything. I'll let the wine evaporate most of the alcohol and most of the liquid. I'm sure you can see this is actually getting thick. Meanwhile, let me see where the salt is. Adding the salt into the water. Plenty of salt. Usually I don't have to add any salt into the sauce mixture. They always taste about right when it's done. And I also put black powder at this point. I mean black pepper at this point. Most of the wine has evaporated, leaving the taste of wine in the oil mixture. At this point, I'm going to add popcorn. I use clam juice and everything. Ideally, you don't want this thing boiling over. I think that stove is just a little too hot. Once all the boiling and everything is done, I usually change the spot with smaller stove top. Lower the heat. Now at this point the sauce is basically done. You want to actually bring the mixture to temperature basically. Mixture to temperature by leaving on a low heat. At the same time, while it's doing that, you want to put about a tablespoon, table and a half, a little more butter into the sauce, and just let it actually come up to temperature and leave it like that until the pasta is done. So that basically shows how to actually make the sauce, and once everything is done, pasta, basically cooking the pasta as instructed on the box. Since I don't make fresh pasta, the dry pasta always works for me. So I'm going to cook it per the instruction, and once it's done, I'll show you the presentation later. Thank you.